Welcome to Beyond Flow. We're your hosts. My name is Tammy and this is Maria, and we are here with you today. We're going to talk about nature and how we can learn from nature. So, when we think about nature, we can talk about the structures of nature. There's so much to talk about today, but
so this one I think you're very excited
geometry,
about.
Sacred geometry, the blueprints of life, the cosmos, plants, humanity, DNA. When we look at it like scientifically, it's all the same. Mm-hmm. We aren't separate. But I feel like nature has a harmony that, when not touched, works flawlessly. Mm-hmm. And humanity is missing at times that harmony, right? Like we just don't always get it. And I think if we can go back to studying nature and connecting with it, I think we can elevate, because I think that nature is pretty much perfect in life as living forms, and we get our ego in the way and sometimes kind of screw it up. Mm-hmm. Right? So one of the things that I thought about immediately with this subject was the impact that the movie Avatar had. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't see that movie until maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't see it back in the day. And I just was blown away at a movie that would be considered the highest grossing film of all time. And even when it's compared to, I think, movies now, still in ratio to everything, it's still one of the highest grossing films, which means I think it was seen by the most people. And we saw in that movie how nature is so integrated, and especially, of course, trees, it's a big part, is such a protective and also life-giving organism, mm-hmm. right? And what did they show in that film is that humanity wanted to and was willing to destroy nature to get something that they thought would bring them wealth. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think nature's first goal is to figure out how much money, it can store in its pockets. Mm. So I think we are definitely in a place where looking to the unconditional love that we feel, of course, with the animal kingdom, mm-hmm. but also just the perfect way that the oceans flow, that plants grow, that trees grow, that the harmony that we can have it's so inspiring. And I think in the end, we are all connected through that aspect of nature that is life. Mm-hmm. And we can honor it so much more. And I think obviously a lot of people get that. But I think that when we look at destruction and things that happen by choices, I wish that we could just go back to understanding that we have another way to be, And
also I think I knew you were going to be probably very passionate about it, because I know you've mentioned how your teacher in 6th grade, how much it impacted you. And for me, when we talk about nature, how I connect with nature, and we don't come from so much different approach. It's just at the end it's the same.
Yeah.
So trees, they go against gravity.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine that that's already pretty.
Miraculous.
It's very miraculous to say there's a tree that comes, there's something that comes, that it goes against gravity. And so there were, and we can talk about, hugging a tree, what it does, and all those things that people think. I think I have a picture of me on Facebook, like hugging a tree, and people say, "Oh, you're a tree hugger," and it's almost like a like a joke, But I am. I love it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my connection with trees and with nature has been since I was a little girl. I was such a tomboy. I used to, like, in our house, we used to have this huge tree, and I wanted to climb it, and I wanted to spend so much time by myself in that tree.
Yeah.
That sometimes they would call me and they were like, where's Maria? Like, where's Maria? And, or Moche, how, they call me at home when my family, and it immediately was like, she's probably in the tree, right? But what I wanted to say is, when we, the understanding, of course, I think you're gonna delve more deeper into nature itself. And for me is when, like, the studies that they have done with people, that when we walk on nature, when we are around nature, the color green, actually, when we look at the color green, it helps us heal, which is not coincidence that it's the same color as the heart chakra.
Good point.
So when we are, when we hear the birds, it creates, it lowers our cortisol levels.
Wow.
And they have proven, I don't think I did much research about this, and I think people know that it's not like we, this is coming here. We don't have a script. So, but I know there's, I think it's called the blue zones. And it's not just what they eat, which it comes from the earth and it's organic and all that, but it has been proven that when you live around closer to the ocean, or when you live in the mountains or close to nature, what that actually, people that suffer from depression, it's like, I don't know if it goes away, but it's definitely a lot less the symptoms. People, I actually know that when you, they have done studies that people that, if they have suffered from depression and they live close to nature, they don't take the same amount of medication.
Yeah, wow.
Because nature is the closest that we get to God.
And I think that there's that movie.
Can I have a little water?
The Earthing movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
thank you.
I think it's from like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good movie. If you have a chance, watch it. The Earthing movie. But they talk about how one of the worst things that we did to ourselves was to wear shoes. And to wear shoes. We wear shoes everywhere. Like, and if we, maybe we take our shoes off inside, but when we're outside, we always have a shoe on. And we never actually put our feet in the ground. You have to make the conscious decision to do that. And, I've done it. I've walked around the backyard, and within minutes, you feel...
It's like the electromagnetic.
You feel a vibration. And if you are tense, you can actually feel yourself relax. Mm-hmm. If you have, knots in your neck and just that whole thing that comes, putting your feet in the ground, it actually shifts everything. Like, it's powerful. And that movie I thought was so good. And I totally recommend it, because we can actually heal ourselves in, obviously there's lots of plant medicines and, aromatherapies and just even food. I mean, when you're diagnosed with something and you're told to work on your diet or whatever, 9 times out of 10 it's more fruits and vegetables. It's more straight from the earth,
something that comes from the earth.
And that's like nature's gift to us. It's not something that requires a lot. It just happens, and we can benefit so much from that unity with Earth.
It's so when I love to garden, I love to plant, I love to even just water the plants. To me, it's like total therapy. If I'm going through like a weird moment or whatever, I just grab a hose and it's like I lose myself. And I talk to the plants. Yes, I'm one of those. But one thing that I love about when I am actually, it was, I don't know if I shared this with you one time, but I think you said, wow, that was maybe like a podcast moment. That I said, it's when I'm planting, when I'm doing gardening, when I'm like, I go to the nursery and buy plants, and I completely lose, like, there's no time or space.
Yeah, like you lose track of time.
It's completely like I don't even know when, and it's physical. It's not like, you're sweating, you have to get your hands dirty. But I realized that the reason for that, first of all, you are in contact with a living being. You're it's not like you have a brick and you're doing construction. It's just that you are, and that plants, I think it was what's the one, the rescue remedy, what's his name?
Bach. Dr. Bach.
Dr. Bach, which is the Bach flowers.
Yeah.
He's the one that studied plants and how the emotions, like every plant can not only can feel our emotions, but they can help us. They can actually help us with emotions. That's why when we take, there's different plants, and I think he has it, like, I think it's 7 main emotions that we have. I think it's fear, anxiety, grief, and
sounds like Inside Out.
Yes. I didn't think about it. But it also say that when you plant a plant, when you the plant feels you when you're coming near.
Wow.
So that tells you that plants have emotions, that they have life. And the thing is that I think you said it at the beginning, is the ego, that the what we are missing, the part of us as human beings. We're forgetting how important not only is to connect with planet Earth, with Gaia, but also to learn from it.
Yep. And I think nature tries to teach us in ways of shaking us up sometimes. When we have natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, these big, massive events that happen that can be very destructive. Those things, I believe 100% are a manifestation of our consciousness. They're not the earth choosing to in a way hurt us.
Right.
I think it's a manifestation. Hurricanes, they get going in heat, right? The water's heat, the everything is about heat, and they get very angry. And when you're watching a hurricane, moving to Florida was eye-opening, because in California, you don't even know what hurricanes are. Mm-hmm. They are scary. Like, mm-hmm. They're intense, but they're like this swirl of anger, mm-hmm. of violence. And I remember so many times doing meditation and conscious thought when a hurricane was developing, I would send ice cubes. I remember mm-hmm. we were talking about this. We did a meditation one time in Fort Lauderdale when our store was over in Fort Lauderdale, and we had planned to have an event. And that event just so happened to be like the evening before a hurricane was supposed to hit. So a bunch of people didn't come, but a few people did. And I remember we turned it into a deep meditation and concentrated effort to calm that energy, sending ice cubes in, sending cool energy in, and also sending love. And I remember that was the one that ended up passing by and zero,
Yeah, I
nothing
remember.
happened.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, is that because of just the 5 or 6 of us that day, or no? But there's so much consciousness that's held. I think that, you know, monks meditate and sit, you know, in the Himalayas and other places and hold a vibration. I think, you know, in monasteries all around, they consciously hold vibration for this earth. And we can't expect them to do all the work, though. We can't expect them to keep things maintained. This anger and violence that we have for each other, this destructive, war-oriented thought process and choices, it manifests in the weather. You know, I believe it 100%. And
Yeah,
I believe that we have the power to change the trajectory of so much destruction, if we can create a respect for each other and a love for each other and an honoring of each other. And I think we will rebalance ourselves and find that nature wants harmony for us.
And will continue supporting us. I wanted to read something that I read earlier, and I wanted to share it. So this says, for instance, so it says, the importance of nature is understanding the self and the universe. So, for instance, indigenous cultures often view nature as a living entity, imbued with spirit and wisdom. This perspective fosters a deep respect for the environment and encourages individuals to seek enlightenment through their interactions with the natural world. The experience of being in nature can lead to moments of clarity and insight that are often elusive in the urban settings. So when I read that, I said, you know, I think that not everyone, but I think that as you get older, even your desire of, for me, like if I, you know, we're in Oakland Park, you know, one of the things that I really liked was like it was a small city, like it's not so busy, it's not so. But as you know, you get older, you say, you know, like you crave a little bit more that nature. You crave silence. You crave, and the only silence the only noise that you want is probably the birds, and you hear the trees or water or the ocean.
Yeah.
So I think that what I liked about what it said here is that when you are in nature and when you put yourself in that environment, it's not only good physically, yes, it's going to help you with your nervous system, with, you know, your mental health, with your emotional part, but it gives you the opportunity again to go within. And that is, I mean, something as simple. Nature is giving you that. It's not saying go and have this pill and you're gonna get to wisdom.
Right.
It's in that energy, in that frequency of nature, that we get to experience. For Jesus, it was going sometimes into the desert. You know, that is nature as well. But what everything has in common is that retreat, is that feeling of connecting one with nature.
Yeah. So. I mean, and remember during COVID and all those times that kind of a lot of things just sort of like shut down as far as what the experience outside and what happened with nature.
Right.
You know, things cleaned up quickly. Things became back in balance. You know, I just remember those images of bodies of water that were completely polluted and in a lot of danger in a few weeks transformed. And I wish we could remember that. And I wish we could like strive more to want that harmony in our lives. And because I think water's a big thing. Water is, we're mostly water and the planet's mostly water. And, I was listening to an astrologer talk about water, and she was explaining that like the water is a pathway in nature. Water flows and touches different aspects, different plants and then animals, and we drink it, and it carries a communication. It carries an understanding that spreads out, and we drink water. And she talked about how important it is to bless the water, to be conscious when you're taking in water, to bless it and know that as it enters your body, there's a concept called the crystalline body. And it's like we are really so much light, and that water creates structure in us in a way, and we can bless our own life by taking a second to honor and bless the water.
Wow.
So I thought that was powerful.
That's amazing. I think she's the one that also mentioned, and I don't know if you if you were going to talk about it or not, but I think you mentioned something about how she also said that I don't know if it was dolphins and whales that they come from you said something like they come from
like a higher realm. They're like a higher consciousness.
Yeah.
They hold truly, a measured, elevated consciousness, even beyond us. And it's so funny because, I have admired the dolphin. I wear a dolphin, literally, for my whole life, and not really knowing why, because I'm not even like a swimmer,
right?
But there is something absolutely magical when you see a dolphin in the water. It's just like no, you just feel a blessing that you can't even believe. And here, luckily, now that is something in Florida that people can see. People see them in Key West all the time. So incredible. So I do feel that we can either wake up to this and think that this our reality is concrete, or we can wake up to the reality of the truth of our harmony with each other and with nature, and start to bless ourselves, try to bless each other, bless nature, talk to the plants, have a communion, and realize that we can actually elevate all consciousness by connecting to those ideas.
And connecting to I think that respect for nature, because we're not, when nature hits, we're not that big. We're when nature hits, we become very little, very small. So nature has a way of also for us to tap into that energy of being humble.
Absolutely.
So I think if we can remember that we're not that, when it comes to nature, it's something bigger, a lot bigger than us. But we have
the best for us.
Exactly. And exactly. Once we change our relationship with nature and how we treat nature, then that's our responsibility.
And if we think of it like, where does the phrase Mother Nature come from?
Right.
A mother is the ultimate unconditional love, divine vibration. And so no wonder nature is called Mother Nature. Makes sense.
So it's connecting with nature. I think knowing that, if you're going through something, take a walk on nature.
Take off your shoes.
Hug a tree. Respect what God has given us. And honor it.
Yeah, I agree.
So
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.